for the agenda or order of business. 1.
Welcome.
Call to order. 2. Devotion. 3. Roll call. 4. Reading and adoption of the agenda. 5. Unfinished business. 6. Report from standing committees. A. Report from the Joint Committee comprising Public Works and Rural Development.
Okay, viewers, welcome to RadioTV. This is live coverage from the House of the Liberal Senate. We are currently in the Senate chambers. The section have been put to a hold because the senators does not have a quorum to start the section. As per the rules, they are to be 16 to start section. But currently, there are like 15 members from the House of Senate here currently. So they are waiting for the other senators to join them so they can have a quorum to commence this section for today. So wherever you're viewing from, this is streamYard worship mode. I'm the legislative reporter for 45 Senate TV.
All right.
Okay, the senators have a quorum now. Senator Darius Delonges entered from Motorado County, who have made them 16 senators, and they are selected to start section commence.
Legislature of the Republic of Liberia, Thursday, July 4, 2024. Agenda or order of business. 1. Call to order. 2. Devotion. 3. Roll call. 4. Reading and adoption of the agenda. 5. Unfinished business. 6. Report from standing committees. A. Report from the Joint Committee comprising Public Works and Rural Development, Lands, Mine and Energy, Natural Resources and Environment, and Public Cooperation on flood situation in Monrovia area and other parts of Liberia. B. Report from the Committee on Waste, Means, Finance, Budget on loan agreement between the government of Liberia and African Development Fund, Monrovia Union Road Development and Transport Facility Program, Phase 4. C. Report from the Committee on Waste, Means, Finance and Budget on loan agreement among administrators of the Transition Support Facility, Monrovia Union Road Development and Transport Facilitation Program, Phase 4. D. Report from the Committee on Judiciary, Human Rights, Claims, and Petition on the closure of businesses for hours on the first Saturday of every month in observance of Millbrook Day. E. Report from the Ad hoc Committee on CTN contract between the government of Liberia and Global Tracking Maritime Solutions. F. Report from the Joint Committee comprising committees on Transport, Public Works, and Rural Development, and Waste, Means, Finance, and Budget regarding the rehabilitation of domestic airports in the country. G. Report from the Committee on Internal Affairs, Governance, and Reconciliation on the confirmation hearings of local government officials designated for Grand Cayman, Moserado, and Sano counties, respectively. 7. Business on President's death. A. Communication from Senator Nyan D. Twine Jr. of Nima County regarding the status of the 2022 population census conducted by the Liberia Institute for Statistics and Geo-Information Services. B. Communication from Senator Johnny K. Pei of Bond County regarding leave of absence. C. Communication from Senator Amara M. Kone of Bapulu County regarding the status of various loan agreements that our government entered into with various international institutions and ratified by the 54th legislature and their impacts on our nation's development. 8. AOB. 9. Adjournment. Madam President Pro Tempore, the distinguished senators, the reading of the draft agenda for the 37 days regular sitting.
The distinguished colleagues declare the reading of the draft agenda of this sitting was your recommendation. Sarah Brown.
Distinguished colleagues, having heard the reading of the draft agenda for the sitting, I move that said proposed agenda be received and open for discussions.
It has been moved and seconded that the agenda for today's sitting be received and open for discussion. I ready to vote?
Ready.
All in favor say yea. Against? Agenda is open for discussion. No intervention, can we get a motion to adopt?
So moved.
All in favor say yea. And nay. Carried by the Senate.
The Liberian Senate, business on President's Stage. Communication from Senator Nyanji Twain, Union of Nima County, regarding the status of the 2022 population census conducted by the Liberia Institute for Statistics and Geoinformation Services. The Liberian Senate, July 2, 2024. Senator Youngly Kanga Lawrence, President Pro Tempore, Liberian Senate in session. Capitol Hill, Monrovia. Subject: the status of the 2022 population census conducted by Legis. Dear Madam Pro Tempore, compliments and best wishes are here extended. I'd like to draw plenary attention to the inconclusive results of the 2022 population census conducted by Legis for the purpose of establishing the total population and other data useful for our national development. The importance of the census, which is meant to provide demographic, social, and economic data for research and policy planning, as well as the provision of disaggregated information on population size and distribution that are essential for aiding the legislature in determining the apportionment of political division, cannot be overemphasized, especially so given that the 2029 election is just a little over 5 years away. In view of aforementioned, this plenary should cite the Director General of Legis and all relevant authorities associated with the 2022 population census to give a situational report and updates on the 2022 census. Yours sincerely, Nyan D. Twain Jr., Senator of Nima County. By the President Pro Tempore.
The distinguished colleague, you heard the reading of the communication from Senator Nyan Twain of Nima County. What is the word of pleasure? Senator Kenneth.
Program, distinguished colleagues, having heard the reading of the communication from the distinguished senator from Nima, I move, if I can obtain a second, that said communication be sent to the relevant committees, and that the author be given 2 minutes, maybe 4 minutes, to explain his insight of his communication. Is there a second?
On second,
Yeah.
so far we said in our motion, I read the vote. All in favor say yea and nay. Senator Twain, 2 minutes.
2 minutes. Thank you. Thank you, Madam Pro Tem and distinguished senators. It's been 2 years now since the population census was conducted by Legis and our partners. I don't need to lecture this plenary about the importance of census, how important they are for our national development planning, and how the disaggregated data that come from census are used for the apportionment of political subdivisions in our country. Given the rise of our population and the increase in our population, especially so from larger counties and smaller counties and from Nima County in specific, that there need to be a conclusive result from the census to enable this legislature to carry out its duty. The duty that will not only bring about how we apportion our development package, but the result that will also lead to the apportionment of political district and subdivision that will benefit governance of our people. The Constitution provides for representation, and said representation should be threshold by this legislature. It cannot do so on its own. And so the census that was conducted should inform us to do so, and it was even perceived prior to the conduct of that census that the results were going to be used to influence how we demarcate our political district in the 2023 elections. That did not materialize. We have 5 years, a little over, to the next elections. And if nothing is done about the result of this census, we will again have another election without political demarcation that will lead to proper representation of our people. And as such, we've spoken to a lot of people associated with the census, and we are getting inclination about auditing the results. I know the government, we have not heard from the executive about it definitively what it wants to do with the results, but the legislature and all associates of this census should be invited to plenary to give us a situational report and update on what they are doing with the result of the census, if they are auditing, when they are auditing, so that we can be in time to set the threshold based on the census result so that our people can be represented. Thank you.
Thank you, Senator. We'll ask the committee to act accordingly in terms of these are very important matters. Senator,
Business on President's Speaks. Communication from Senator Johnny K. Pehe of Bon County regarding leave of absence. Business on President's Speaks. Communication from Senator Amara M. Kone of Garfield County regarding the status of various loan agreements that our government entered into with various international institutions and ratified by the 54th legislature and their impact on our nation's development. The Liberian Senate, July 2, 2024. Senator Yombili Kanga Lawrence, President pro tempore, the Liberian Senate in section, Capitol Building, Capitol Hill, Monrovia, Liberia. Dear Madam pro tempore, we present our compliments and right to follow up on the letter we wrote plenary dated February 13, 2024, in which we expressed our deep concern regarding the status of various loan agreements that our government entered into with various international financial institutions and ratified by the 54th legislature and their impacts on our nation's development. We wrote our letter 4 months ago, in which plenary referred to the Ways, Means, Finance Committee. We believe that this inquiry is an essential oversight responsibility of the Senate, not only for ensuring transparency in public debt, but also for strengthening public trust in our government's financial management practices and safeguarding future generations from inheriting the burden of huge debts, especially when our country's creditworthiness is at a high debt distress level, which could make it difficult for the current and future administrations to borrow for development. This assertion is supported by the facts below. The annual Public Debt Management Report for fiscal year 2023, published by the Ministry of Finance and Development Planning, states, quote, public debt grew by 15.30%, to US $2.3 billion at the end of December 2023, compared to US $2.03 billion at the end of December 2022. The growth in the debt stock was driven by disbursements from both domestic and external creditors. The external component of the total debt stock constituted about US $1.375 billion, representing 57.38%. The growth in external debt was mainly informed by disbursements from the World Bank, US $145.67 billion, in the African Development Bank, US $36.94 million, amongst others. The share of domestic debt is US $1.021.73 billion, representing 42.62%. The surge in the domestic debt is informed by disbursements from the Central Bank of Liberia, commercial banks, and other organized debts and claims. As the debt report suggests, the government must pay urgent attention to our debt situation, specifically domestic debt, which has the propensity to affect the financial sector and potentially stunt economic growth. We therefore request that this matter be given the utmost attention before we close for recess. We stand ready to provide any assistance or support necessary to facilitate the inquiry process. Thank you for your usual cooperation, and please accept the assurances of our highest esteem. Sincerely, Amara M. Conant, Senator, Barpool County, for this committee.
The English colleagues, there was a reminder letter from the Amara about the status of our various homes. We need a motion. I think we should hear from the chair on Ways and Finance on the status of that.
No, it's on manner.
It was already on the floor. It should be committed.
Thank you. Madam Pro Tem, distinguished colleagues, it is true that the Honorable Senator from Bapolo County communicated to this plenary for the plenary to be briefed on loans that the government has secured. And we made a full representation as a committee to the team from the Ministry of Finance and Development Planning, at which time it was at the peak of the budget period. And then we're told that they were going to get the information to us. So giving this reminder communication, we want to say to the Senator and the plenary clearly that if we do not receive this information before the close of this week, we'll have a report made for the team to be here before plenary to make it public. I think it's an obstruction of our work. When our colleagues has written and we have enforced it, up to present, we cannot get that information. So we request that by the close of this week, if that information is not provided, we'll have a recommendation to the plenary for the team from Finance to be here, the minister and his team to provide. Yes. Through the secretary.
Can we do a reminder communication to the? All right. So please do a reminder communication to the for the report to have the report here before the other people. So once you have copy of that communication. Thank you. That's okay.
Brother, before the secretary can do let's make the plenary presentation, because I think it was plenary decision after the wanted that the portfolio, the impact that we saw was to include all previous loans, not just loans that were approved under the report. We don't know as far as 53rd. I think that was the decision of plenary. And not to restrict it to just 54.
What was the request from the what was the opponent's request?
You said 54.
Okay,
then
so
plenary decided that instead of 54, it should be from 53rd.
plenary put that on, Sunday, I said they will vote on going back to
Yes, that's what we said.
On the program, I need to consult John.
That was the decision of plenary. We amended it. 53rd, yeah. We amended it.
all right, so 53rd, 54.
Right.
There are two, we can get 50, instead of 53rd, instead of 54. We can put that in the communication.
Yeah.
So, Madam President, having said that, I kindly ask that we extend it to next week, this week, in terms of the deadline. But considering that it's a lot of, but that's not suggestion, Madam President. We give them 1 week notice, because it's a lot of work to do to bring those documents to book. No, I will ask for 1 week extension. Instead of this week, Madam President, let's do it next week.
So that communication will go for the, it has to be there before Tuesday.
Yeah. Report from Steering Committee. Report from the Joint Committee comprising Public Works and Rural Development, Lands, Mines, Energy, Natural Resources, and Environment, and Public Operations on flood situation in Monrovia area and other parts of Liberia. The report on the flood situation in the Monrovia area and other parts of Liberia, submitted by the Senate Joint Committee on Public Works as lead committee, Lands, Mines, Energy, Natural Resources, and Environment, and Public Operations. Recommendation. Summary and findings. Summary and findings. The following information is drawn from the various presentations of the witnesses, their responses to questions and comments from senators, floor interactions, and ensuing discussions. 1. Generally, flooding is temporary overflow of water onto land that is normally dry. 2. The type of flooding currently ongoing in Monrovia and its environs and Liberia at large is flash flooding, which is the result of heavy and excessive rains with tremendous output in a very short period of time that the soil does not have capacity to absorb the precipitation, and consequently it leads to overflowing. 3. There is also flooding of coastal areas, which cause sea erosion and flooding from outflows from rivers onto flow plains and other nearby areas. 4. human and community activities are aggravating the flood situation. The drying and filling of wetlands, construction on wetland, dumping waste in drainages, building on alleys, construction without regards to the zoning and environmental laws, climate change, and construction of roads and highways without proper environmental studies are the primary causes of floods in Monrovia and other parts of Liberia. 5. Flood mitigation measures, which have been employed by sectoral agencies, include the cleaning of drainages, process which the Joint Committee noted is very slow and ineffective. The demolition of some buildings that encroached on drainage and other water courses, stop order on construction projects that are in violation of the environmental law, and public awareness about all aspects of flooding. 6. The Joint Committee noted that the zoning program is very ineffective. 7. There is lack of a land use map to facilitate land use planning, which is an essential tool in mitigating the effect of flooding. 8. The EPA wants the president to put a moratorium on any kind of construction on wetlands. Once the moratorium is announced, it will enable the EPA to put in place regulations to stop construction on wetlands. The EPA further stated that wetlands belong to the government. Therefore, it would be good to put a moratorium construction on the wetlands to avoid flooding. The Land Authority, however, stated that most of the swamplands have already been deeded to private individuals. 9. There's a lack of coordination among the various agencies of government in addressing the issue of flooding. 10. Urban migration is putting pressure on available lands. Monrovia was originally designated for 400,000 to 500,000 inhabitants. However, the city is now overpopulated, and people are filling, drying, and constructing houses on swamps and other wetlands and mangrove. 11. Some streets are below sea level and lie near flood plains. Example, the road segment from Gabriel Tucker Bridge to the Freeport of Monrovia. This makes them prone to flooding. And 12, flood disaster victims are catered to by a cluster of agencies, but the demand for assistance is very hard, especially during the rainy season. Recommendations. The Senate Joint Committee on Public Works and Rural Development, Lands, Mass, Energy, Natural Resources, and Environment, and Public Command, the responsibilities and efforts of the Ministry of Public Works, Environmental Protection Agency, the Liberia Land Authority, the National Disaster Management Agency, the Ministry of Justice, state corporations, and other concerned agencies should be properly coordinated through the establishment of an institutional framework to effectively address the flood issues confronting flood victims and to mitigate the effects of floods. 2. The government should carry out effective awareness campaigns from time to time to educate the public about the zoning laws and environmental laws as it relates to flooding and human activities that aggravate the flooding situation. 3. In some strategic locations, buildings already constructed on wetlands, waterways, and alleys causing massive flooding be demolished in line with laws appertaining thereto. 4. The cleaning of drainages should be outsourced and monitored constantly. 5. The Liberia Land Authority and the court should not register deeds of wetlands and should not allow the issuance of permits to squatters on wetlands. 6. The Minister of Public Works The EPA and the Liberia Land Authority should work together to prepare new zoning laws, land use policies, and propose appropriate legislation that will effectively address the current flooding situation. 7, the Minister of Public Works should consider the design of climate smart and climate resilient roads and other infrastructure. And 8, serious discussion and planning for a new capital city should commence. Done in committee room this 28th of June 2024. Senate Committee on Public Works and Rural Development signed. Senate Committee on Lands, Mines, Energy, Natural Resources, and Environment signed. And the Senate Committee on Public Cooperation signed. Madam President, Pro Tempore, Presiding Officer.
Everybody go down to reading of the report from Lands, Mines, and Energy and Environment. Senator Joseph. Take a report.
Madam President and fellow colleagues, let me first of all thank the Joint Committee for this report. And having said that, I move if I can attain a second that the report be received and open for discussion.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded that the report be received and open for discussion. Are you ready to vote? Okay, everyone waiting. All in favor say yea. Again. Report is open for discussion.
So, let me thank Senator Joseph for bringing the issue to plenary and members of the Joint Committee for having a public hearing and listening to our witnesses. I think our report is clear. Everybody knows about flooding in Monrovia, especially in Monrovia, and other parts of Liberia. Every municipality, the people of flooding comes from it, and we made it. And the cause of the flooding and low is also clear. In the villages and the smaller towns, the noise of flooding is minimal. But in Monrovia, the noise is louder. Because urban migration has put pressure on available land space in this capital city. Monrovia, it is said that it was designed for about 400,000 persons. Now we are in the millions. As more people want land, they replace swamps and other wetlands. Villages are clogged. People construct on any available land space without reference to the zoning laws. By the law, before you construct even your home, you have to go to the Ministry of Public Works for permit. Nobody does that. Streets are also designed and built, highways, without regards to the climatic conditions that are existing now or in the future. What is the solution? What will be there? There's no question. Disaster management and other agencies will cater to flood victims. We need resources to do that. But it is important that we reduce the pressure on the available land space. challenge is this. Government must have that willpower, not exercise for the city. Where people constructed with all regards to the zoning environmental laws, those buildings must come down to give them the impression. If government has that political will, something will happen. If we don't have the political will, the problem will continue. Why we are while we are trying to solve the problem, there has to be a permanent solution. We have to find a new space. We have to design a new capital city. Because as the weather patterns become unpredictable and the weather condition becomes more fierce due to climate change, we have to build infrastructure, including streets, that are climate resistant and climate smart. To do that, we have found a new capital city and start the planning process. The planning process will include obeying land use policy, that is, where you build factories, they have to build factories. Where there will build homes, they have to build their homes. Where you have to build offices, build offices. Now, Monroe, everything is upside down. Buildings that were meant for factories, is going to close on them. I'm not giving up Monroe, but we must have the political will to deal with the situation. We have to demolish massively.
Wow.
And we have to plan for a new city to reduce pressure on the landscape. That's not it.
Thank you. There are some more slips.
Madam distinguished senators, let me first commend the report because they bring into the fore some of the major challenges we are facing in the governance of the country. There is a barrier that has multiple factors responsible. The first thing we have to look at is what is driving the entire country out of the country to Monrovia. You should sit down now as a country. First, we contributed aid to the war, insecurity. Now the war finished. We all agree we'll do all of our talking, but we have to do it. What is the national program to carry the population back to the places they come from? If we don't see about the roads and the citizens taking about 2 or 3 weeks in the mud, then they will be chasing life. If we cannot provide electricity, if we cannot provide water, those things that are driving them to those who sit down and study. Yes, new capital city, but in this world today, you're talking about between $10 to $25 billion to start new capital city. Even half of that money can carry the population back. Job opportunity is driving the people. Like in my home, in my county, every night there are reports of people drowning in the water because the young people Some of them graduated from high school, no job to do, they have to live, so they will look for all kinds of resources. And so other people, there are different reasons that are driving people to this Monrovia. So to neutralize that is to see how the country can sit, put a national program together, short term, medium term, long term, that in the next 10 years, let's depopulate Monrovia. Then we'll work on it. This is how I see it now.
Thank you, Senator.
Thank you, Madam President and colleagues. Again, I want to say thank you to the Joint Committee for the level of work done and recognizing the fact that the people of Montserrat County in the highest number of those that have been affected from the crisis. Not much to say. I want to add up to the other who were given permit to the Agrarian Land Authority. And the EPA paper, they give them documentation for them to go and build them. They have built their homes, and now there's a problem. I will agree with this report that we should go ahead with demolition. As much we're doing the demolition, but those that were affected based on decision from government entities, I think this ballot should come to make appropriation so that they can be given some benefit in order to move to different locations. Because some of them, they were convinced based on documents that they received from an agency of national government, from government. So these people now, for the overall good of the country, we have to approve the issue of demolition, but then they should be considered as vacant, and then therefore they should be compensated on that note. Companies who normally, knowing the fact that there's a swamp that will affect the community, and because you have your resources, and you can go and fill in those swamps, and thousands of persons today are struggling. I mean, they can be considered on this appeal that I'm making. Equally, a community called in district number 4 called Nabana. Every year, the flow of the water, the entire community will be shut down for sometimes 3 weeks. No one will be able to cross the water. So I thought it was to come over for a bridge. More than 20 feet. But unfortunately, I thought I have done well. The water covered the bridge. So those factors today go and give them those land. And that corporate social responsibility, the community around it, they don't benefit anything from them. So I want to thank this committee, and I'm in support, but kindly appeal that those citizens must be compensated. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Madam Pro Tempore. I'm grateful for the opportunity to share this platform. My signature is on that report. But for those who are lawyers, there is something called concurrent opinion. You agree and give different grounds. This is not a novelty. This is not a novelty. This degree has been on in the 80s. When we were in college, under the military regime of Samuel Doe. Before the Greater Bridge was constructed, we're using the old bridge. Patton was flooded every day in the rainy season. However, there are two places I visited in West Africa most. I go to Accra and trade. Then I go to Abuja. I don't stay in Lagos when I go to Nigeria. When I go to Abuja, it's a green field. When I was debating the capital city, we were in college. Nigeria had oil. So because the oil revenue was surplus, politicians had to find a way, and they gave out contracts, and a lot of things happened. That's why you have Abuja today. So, we have hope. I agree with the new capital city idea, but we have a hope that we're in the oil belt. Liberia, Sierra Leone, even share of oil block. So, my anticipation is we should be discussing this, we should have a plan, we should have a good proposal. As soon as we discover oil, as soon as Liberia discover oil, they pay me at the time.
Well, we get new go to business before the one we see.
Even if the poor was easy today, and will not be explored after 10 years from today, because there are no infrastructure to jump in the railroad alone. And the facility there will take 10 years. But if we find oil today, we'll start getting money today. That's what I learned. That's my information. That's what I learned from Protem Emeritus. But it's still less than 10 years. So I'm saying we can do all the work and tie it to the discovery of our own oil. Because when we're discussing this in the 80s, hello? When we're discussing the relocation of Monrovia in the 80s as college students, we targeted the general executive, we targeted Bama and Buchanan. But how it died off and got off the agenda, I don't know. Okay. So, the issue of compensation is not about it. We have a compensation. We call it emergency disaster assistance or relief. We can look into the emergency relief every time we put something in the budget for relief. That's a current situation we can deal with. But when you talk about capital city, so the current already have problem with the loan, the small loan we approve. Then you go about capital city, what loan you get on, that's why you. The loan you will take will swallow the country. You will not take it. So, my suggestion would be we allocate money for emergency relief every year for this kind of a thing. It will happen. Even if we move to Buchanan as our new capacity, or we move to Bangla as our new capacity, there will be flood. Because these are the characteristics of underdeveloped countries like Liberia that does not have oil yet. But they got oil blocks to sell. So this is my take. We can emphasize the emergency relief for our people. The actual implementation of this idea should be tied to our discovery of oil. I thank you.
Thank you. I'd like to thank the person for articulating the issues for the report. sufficiently in some respect. We will report that most of the issues addressed, except for the massive demolition. I want to state firstly that I believe the first thing we need to do, we need to clearly understand the level of flooding that we are experiencing as a country. The scale at which it is has never been like that before. There are places I have traveled, especially along the Carolina Highway, I haven't experienced flood, I haven't seen flood. But this year, their homes are under the water, especially when it's rain. So we need to clearly establish as to where it is on the basis of people building in alleys and waterways. Because from what I saw in some of the areas, I don't think those particular areas, the level of flooding is due to people constructing waterways and alleyways. So I want us to have maybe other specialized agencies to properly investigate what is finding as to why are we having this level of flood situation coming. Besides, Madam Pro Tem, why is it true that it would be a good thing to build a new capital city? Because the Nigerians build theirs when the front oil when they raise value revenue from oil. But there are things we can do to address the situation to a larger extent. And one major thing that we can do that is within our domain is to ensure that we decentralize the governance of this republic. The governance system is overly centralized. That's why everybody comes to Monrovia. That's why everyone wants to live in Monrovia. We had a conversation that was so big our report about the policy. Let's take the consideration the National Port Authority. You have a National Port Authority. You have ports in Buchanan, in Maryland, in China. But from the information we have, those ports have been neglected over the years. And it even appears that funding raised from some of the ports are used to support major operations of the NPA. No substantial investment is being done. But it must be a national port authority. If people are employed, they have to be employing. The salary will be decided here. In many instances, most of the ports, no peers, they only employ. Even those that I talked to, the former manager who is now represented for the people of San Jose, those of us, those who work at the port, their salaries now more than $350. But people at the National Port Authority, $3,000, $4,000, $5,000. Yeah. And they raise money to support the port operation. So essentially, there are some things that are within our control we can do to begin to address the situation. And we create opportunities for our people in the rest of the countries. We will have to decongest Monrovia. People will not have the appetite to be around here if they don't have a job, if they cannot build home. But if they can have jobs, they will be in a position to earn money, salary, to put food on the table for their families. Then I think they'll move. So we need to consider that we certainly need to look at some of the institutions that are already centralized so that we can include them in the decentralization process. And as a Senate, I think we should pay attention to decentralization because majority of us are from poor countries and our people are denied the benefit of being a citizen or the development that we so yearn for. Besides the issue of decentralization, we when we had a hearing, we raised this issue with the Minister of Water also. There are existing drainages and waterways that are not being maintained. They are clogged. Nobody pays attention. I raised it here, the Deputy Minister for Technical Services and Minister of Water raised it with Chico Road, Kanaka Highway, and he said that road is not maintenance. It should be maintained by Chico for daily construction. But it's not being maintained. The drainages are not being maintained. I don't know if Minister of Water was exercising the appropriate oversight to ensure that the drainages are maintained. Besides the maintenance of drainages, in areas where there are construction, people have constructed in the waterways, or people have constructed to an extent that they encroach on the waterway. Waterways need to be mandated or empowered as per their budget passed by the legislature, so that they go and have to create waterways or new drainages. That would help to solve some of the problems while we anticipate the discovery of oil for us to be a new city. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you, President, colleagues. Very interesting topic. And my contribution would be that the weather pattern we are experiencing today are a function of climate change. And climate change is a worldwide phenomenon. It's not unique to Liberia. That's why our learned geologists and chairman of the committee on follow-up, while speaking, said that we should begin to be climate smart. That's where I think we need to begin from. We have to be climate smart. Everybody all over the world talking about climate change and putting conditions in place in the respective countries to address the issue of climate change. So today we have what we call the intensity of rainfall. Are we prepared for that? No. Today we have, I couldn't agree less with Senator Duku and even the chairperson of the committee, human settlement issue. Are we prepared? Have we planned? We have a plan as a country in place to address all the issues of human settlement. We are a country that cares less about planning. We care less about planning. We don't hear anything in our governance about planning. We say development. You cannot do development without planning. Planning first. Planning supersedes development. And so the other day, I was listening to the Minister of Public Works, and even I was talking to what guys were talking about communities. Even new communities are developing today. After the war, we had as a country the best opportunity to plan and redesign Monrovia. Did we do that? There were suggestions from all over the place, including from the international community. Did we pay heed? No. No. We continue with the same pattern of unplanned development. And so we go all over the place. Structures are scattered all over the place. No plan, no zoning, no drainage pattern. Because if you don't plan, if you plan, you put drainage, you put everything everywhere before people go there. It says zone. When it comes to zone, that's why it says zone the community. That's why it means that they put all of these things. You know, where electric lines will run, where water lines will run where drainage will run, and all of these things will be there. We don't do that. And I think this is where our problem is. And added to that is the fact that the people who are responsible to enforce our laws are not doing that. Our regulatory regime is very, very weak because we compromise everything. We give permits to people to construct any and everywhere. Anything they want to build anywhere. And here we are today. And this problem cannot be addressed by giving it out to people. What kind of money do we have to support that kind of consumption level? Do we have money? We have support development and consumption. And most times it's a mentality. They help the people. How much money do we have? All the communities that have been flooded to cater to the needs of the people. Can we afford that? No. But we have been even less. So I've done some technical engineering work in those communities to make sure that there's a free flow of water all over the place. So not to be too long, because I'm sure my colleague before me spoke very well about what the issues are. We need to get public works. We need to get the EPA. Let them come up with a blueprint. Every day you have public works, not public works, but EPA, no construction on wetland, no construction on wetland. They're the same people who are giving permits to people to construct on wetland. It should not be so. So let them come up with some technical proposals to us, to the committee, that we can look at as to how they intend to address this problem. We don't address the problem. If futuristic to talk about a new city, I don't think we have that money now. I don't really know why we'll be able to find oil. But we do that if we can find gold. Even if we find it, it's in the distant future. But let's deal with the problem now. And the way I think we should deal with it now is to get public works, get the EPA to come to us and say, look, this is the problem that we have. How do you put together to do that? I think that's the way we should start. Thank you.
Thank you, Senator Bill. Thank you, Madam distinguished colleagues. In the year 2000, Qatar bid to host the World Cup of 2022. And in 2000, when Qatar was bidding to host the World Cup of 2022, I thought, in my modern understanding and regular attitude at the time, that the time was too far while Qatar bidding to host the World Cup 22 years in advance. In 2022, Qatar hosted the World Cup, and it was pronounced to be one of the most organized World Cup in recent history. That was planning, vision, to plan in advance for things to come, time to come in the future. I see that even there was small laughter when this recommendation talked about the possibility of looking at a new capital city. In the South now, or in necessary. We need a new capital city where we can properly plan the future of this country. Flooding is everywhere. Flooding will happen. It's a natural occurrence. But there are some places where flood does not take place because prevention, action zoning is a function of the Ministry of Public Works. This legislature made law. Everything that we need to do in the country to change the country, we got law for it. Our problem is the lack of will for implementation. I hope I'm wrong, but even as we press on the Public Works Ministry to go enforce the zoning order, and if it requires breaking down some structure, including some powerful structure, probably the room will be divided. This very room that seems united on the recommendation may be divided. Flood is happening, especially in our country. We do our own thing. The flood thing reminds me of LEC and power theft. LEC carry transformer in the community, and they say the capacity of the transformer that can supply that community. The community members know their neighbors in the community that are taking direct current. They don't say anything. And most of the people taking the direct current, they don't want to put on all their appliances so that they get even concern of. When the capacity of that transformer is over 1 and it blows off, then LEC gets trouble. The community doesn't even do community protection of their transformer. That's the same way we, people building in islands, the very Ministry of Public Works that has the zoning law and the authority to ensure zoning takes place in the country, they don't want to get permit. The law there, unless we need to review the law and say, okay, in keeping with the current reality, we need to strengthen the law if that is required. But the law, the zoning law there. Meanwhile, as I said, how we find a solution to prevent flooding where it can be prevented, there will still be flooding occurring. It's a natural issue. In the most developed countries, flooding going on there. But when flooding goes on there, they got the agencies that are already established and capacitated. So we really need to pay attention to the disaster relief agency. As our people are suffering the flood, we need to start to take immediate preventive action, or how you call it, relief action, to relocate them temporarily to places, to shelter them temporarily. And it can be done through the disaster relief agency. We can do that. We can achieve it. Thankfully, this budget, thankfully, this 2024 budget, increase the disaster relief agency budget from under 800,000 to over 2 million, thereabout. We can call the disaster relief agency here and let it give us a program as to how they intend to intervene temporarily. And then if we have the political will on the zoning issue, on the alley issue, on giving permit to people to build on wetlands, to prevent it. Futuristic things, those are things we can do if we are united and stand together and hold strong on to oversight, so that the country knows that we already passed these laws. The institutions responsible to implement these laws, when they drop the ball, our role to be united and friends like this, to hold them accountable. And if the executive does not take action, then we take our necessary action on the very executive. I submit.
Thank you, Madam Pro Tem. Let me first thank the chair and the committee for their work and your advocacy in terms of how to address this problem. let me join other colleagues to extend to the affected families, victims of flooding that we have seen recently in Monrovia. This is my second rainy season since I returned home to join all of you to move our country's development agenda forward. Last year, I spent that in my home county, the rural county, where the effect of the downpour of rain are seen in the road condition, where the roads are terrible and it makes it difficult for people to move from one place to another. This is my second rainy season, and I'm spending it in Monrovia, our country's capital. And I can tell you, it's violent. The wind is violent. It's not only affecting people who have built in the swamps, who have no business in agriculture. It's affecting everybody. This is a serious problem. And it's not a new issue, if I can support Senator Jala. When I was Minister of Finance, I recall between 2012 and 2016 April, when I left, every year we would give money to the Ministry of Public Works to open the drainages from Gibraltar Bridge all the way to Douala. But every time we push our colleagues to come back and say that people build in the waterway from the road to the River. Every year. So this is not a new problem. It is a problem that will require real coordination between us here advocating this, for the camera, so people can see that we're talking for them, but no action is taken on the other side. So in that case, it was not a money problem. It was a capacity issue. It was a regulatory issue, like the former pro tem said. So we need to find a solution to this. Right now, the same place where we spent more than $6 million during that time when I was here to open the waterway is still flooded. And then the last government contracted a company that our colleague Senator Snow wrote a letter about to open that place as well, and nothing has happened. So I'm just trying to come to this conversation from the point of view that this may not be only a financial problem, it could be a bigger problem than that. Then the question is, we can demolish and open the waterways. Maybe a few people will be affected. Maybe families will be affected. But right now, in the middle of this rainfall, we're in early July. We got August coming where it rains here historically 7 days straight. 1 week is raining. When we start to break down now and displace families, because our government, the Ministry of Public Works, will go to community and did not enforce the regulation, and in some cases will take money. I'm sorry, my colleagues over there, this is not to take a shot at anybody. My alleyway, where I live now, in Congo Town, they are building a structure on the road. Yep. The staircase is on the road. But I'm a public figure. So I have to come and go around it. I tell my driver, don't do anything, don't say anything. If we call Public Works, Public Works comes there. Because they were attacking, I will become the problem. You say anything now the problem. Huh? And this is the case. They keep there. We alerted them, they keep there. Next thing you know, they never stop it. What I'm hearing is that they got kickback. It's a society problem. So we cannot now go and displace families, police, in the middle of the rainy season. I think we should plan this, like the pro tem said, properly, and give people advance notice to leave the waterways that beginning this time, maybe next year, the government is going to come and open all of these places. That gives them time to move their children, their family to new places. My second appeal to this body is to build on what my colleague Senator Dillon has suggested. The National Disaster Agency. Look, this issue is a global phenomenon. When George Bush was president of the United States, New Orleans, where nobody built in the waterway, it rained so much until the drainage they built in the center of the city for the canal for the water to move got overflowed, and people were climbing on their rooftop. The way President Bush responded to that crisis caused him, a political problem in his country. If you can remember, our government will have to show up for those who are putting their houses on Facebook. We see them, they're crying for help, but nobody is there. Nobody goes there. I know for a fact that families slept in Montserrat in churches in the Benson Day area. Maybe senators like this episode can attest to this. We didn't hear any relief going to them, whether it is food or blanket or so on. Right there, Rich Junction, that I frequent every weekend. I have a farm in Bonnie. When I'm going there and coming back, I see families standing on the road like that, looking at their home in the river, all the way to the window level. And they stand there until the water level goes down before they go to try to do something there. Where is their government? We should not wait for a recast budget. If we want to be serious about this, Madam Presiding and colleagues, I think we need to have a special session with the Ways and Means in-house with Finance Ministry to see where we are in the middle of the budget year. They have just released the first quarter report of the budget. I don't know if you've received it, but I downloaded it from the Ministry of Finance's website. It's there, made. Their revenue is performing, but disbursement is low. What's going on? What's going on? You're raising more revenue, but you are disbursing at a time when this economy needs money in order to move people forward. It's not a finance issue, but I'm flagging here to say, let's bring them in. Let's see if we can push for some kind of resolution here to allocate money to the National Disaster Agency and task the committee responsible for oversight over them to make sure that families are getting help this rainy season. That's what the developed countries do. When snow falls in America and in third places, they deliver. When there's a heat and there's heat stroke, in cities, the people are dying, you show up. But we're not showing up for our people. So I thank you for this report. I thank you. This requires additional conversation. Perhaps here first, and then with our colleagues across the street. So we found an additional 2 million or so, specifically to give relief to victims. Then we sit down with public works and tell them to give us a plan for when they can open this waterway. Next year, when the budget comes before us, we can make it a priority. On the issue of the new city, finally, so I'll sit down. No. I wish. But I'm not going to be overly ambitious. But I will not get it. But I'm managing my expectation. Yeah. So I will follow the big country. I will follow the big country on the issue of the city police. You will recall that during the first UP administration, the former president delivered a speech to the joint house here, I think in one of our annual messages, and put this bold vision forward, and even called the place Zekiba, where 3 counties meet, Biba, Basa, and Bon, the central part of Nigeria, where we could start a city just like Abuja. It takes one president to go there. We all go there. We can't be talking about this. This city was built for 350,000 people. This Monrovia here. Look at the sewage system. The sewage system was built by President Tubman in the 1960s. We've never changed it. Everywhere you go, that people water. Help Hamza for our people.
The city is overcrowded. Let's not downplay this new city issue. Senator Chair, thank you for this. We need to find a way. The late Willis Knockout, Minister Knockout, may rest in peace. Headed this community, they did some work. Something is on the table somewhere. Let us see that and see if we can pitch it to our new president. And then, like somebody talk about debt, Senator Jala. Yes, Senator Jala. This is where you borrow. We should start borrowing to buy cars and all these things. This is where you go and borrow a hell of a money and go open up this city. Abraham Babangida open up Abuja just by building few places and going there, and the rest of the country follow. This is my intervention. Let us sit down and find. Let's find money. Let's get additional resources to the National Disaster Agency. Let's not demolish now. Let's plan it, but let's do something about it. But at the same time, let's see if during this administration we can really, even if it is to lay out this Zekipa area or somewhere else. Let's send some of the machines that we are hearing about there. To go clear the place and lay it out, and then we can start to build more. Thank you very much.